Hey fly tiers, welcome back. My name is Matt, and thank you for stopping by the channel. And if this is your first time here and you want to learn some cool fly tying tips and tricks, maybe some new patterns or some old patterns in their history, then subscribe. Click the bell so you don't miss anything. Now I've got a pretty fun pattern for you today. This is number 34 in our Great Smoky Mountain series. This is Cato Holler's Infallible. Now when I read about this fly, I just had to tie it. I mean, first off, Cato Holler, what a name. And doing a little bit of research, he was a legend in North Carolina. He was a hunter, a trapper, a conservationist, one of the earliest members of Trout Unlimited in the state. And he had a property on Armstrong Creek, and I couldn't find a lot of information about it. Apparently, it's still private, owned by the Holler family, fishing by invitation only. I think they got a club there. So if any of you have heard of it, or certainly if you've fished it, let us know in the comments. It'd be interesting to hear. So about this fly, the Infallible, this is one of those that I kind of look at that could be fished dry or wet. I mean, you put a couple extra wraps of Hackle on it and fish it with a floatant, I'm sure it would fish well as a dry, but I'm kind of looking at it as a nymph. It just has that nymph-like profile. So I would fish this weighted, maybe with a split shot or hang a heavier fly off the bend of the hook. So it's a pretty easy tie. I don't think there's anything too exotic with it. Maybe the tail, which is woodchuck or groundhog. And if you don't have that, not everybody has that, I'd probably just substitute some squirrel or maybe even the guard hairs from a hare's mask. I think that would work just as well. But it's a pretty cool looking fly, not hard at all to tie. I think you're gonna like it. Let's give it a shot. So there it is, Cato Holler's Infallible. I'm gonna be tying this on a size 12. It's a 2X long nymph hook, 1X strong. If you were tying it as a dry, you'd probably want to use a lighter dry fly hook. So I'm going to put base, I'm using 6/0 because that's what I had in tan. If I had an 8/0 or 70 denier in tan, I would probably be using that, but you use what you've got. So take your thread back to the bend of the hook. Now we're going to tie in the tail. Now this is kind of fun stuff. See this woodchuck, groundhog, muskrat, whatever you got here. And I'll show you how to do this. This has got some really, really furry underfur. So I'm gonna grab a piece about that thick right there. And let me show you how to get this ready. Okay, when you snip it off, you've got a lot of underfur. So what you'll want to do is just grab it by the tips because we really only want the guard hairs. So grab it by the tips and then you can pull most of this all out. So you'll be left with the thicker guard hairs. Do that a couple times. Take a look at it now. You're left with mostly the black and white. That's what we want. So you can do that if you got any of that underfur. Now this is what I will put in my stacker. Okay, the moment of truth. Did it stack very well? I think it stacked well enough. So let's pull that out. Now how long are we going to make this? Okay, that might be a little bit more than I want, so I'm going to just grab the tips again and then try to thin it out just a little bit. Okay, that's going to be fine right there. So a little bit longer than a hook gap. It's a pretty shaggy tail. So let's try this right here. Pinch wrap. 1, 2, check your position. Okay, I think that's going to be fine. It's a little bushy, but that's what I want. So before I wrap it all the way up, I'm going to go ahead and snip this about the body length right here. Now I can use some of these fibers here to make the underbody. Okay, that's smooth enough right there. Let's take our thread back to the start of the tail. You can use open wraps here just to get it back there quickly. Now let's put some wax on it. Now here's where we're going to use an alternate. I mean, use your mink fur dubbing if you got any. If you got any brown mink, sure, go for it. But what do I always say if you don't have it? Just go to rabbit. I would use something natural for this. If you're tying it as a nymph, you kind of want this natural fur. I mean, yeah, use synthetic if you've got to, but I think the fur of the rabbit's gonna hold a little bit of water bubbles, maybe give it just a little bit more life. So I'm putting a pretty good noodle on here. This might be 3 or 4 inches, maybe 3.5 inches, because I'm going to take it all the way up, pretty long body. Got a little bit of a bare thread right there, and that will give me 2 wraps to get back, and now I'm laying the dubbing down. So just even wraps up here, try to build it smooth. You might get a little bit of taper if you want, meaning a little bit thicker up toward the front. Okay, now I might have just put a little bit too much dubbing on there, but we'll see if we can work with that. It's probably not going to mess us up too much. So the wing on this is just a flank feather. It's a teal flank and color Woodchuck. So I like to grab some with some really dark bars, really distinct segmentation looks right there. And I'll pull it off. If you'd like it to be swept back like this, which I think it looks pretty good when you do this, you just leave it like it is. If you want it to be straight, you can spin these in your fingers. So I don't know if you guys could hear that, but somebody was upstairs running around like a madman. One of my kids, I'm sure. So I'm going to do a pinch wrap. I'm actually going to do 2 right here. Okay, I kind of like that wing, but I want it to lay a little bit lower down. So I'm going to just take a couple of medium wraps right there. Okay, I think that's going to be fine. Now let's go ahead and snip this excess off. And what is that? That's a piece of rabbit fur sticking forward. Now let's tie in the hackle. Brown dry fly hackle. It is a nymph, and we are going to fish it wet, but remember it's a semi-dry, so if you wanted it to be a pure dry fly, you'd probably just put a few more wraps of hackle on it, maybe use a lighter hook. So if we're going to fish this as a nymph, we're just going to take, maybe 3 turns of hackle on here. It's not going to be a big bushy Smoky Mountain fly like we've done many of in the past. So let's take 3 wraps and see how that looks for us. Gonna sweep them back a little bit, one right in front of the other. And I think that's gonna be fine. Let's back that thread up 1 wrap so we're hanging right where we want to catch it in. And let's take 2 wraps to lock it. And I think we're going to be fine there. When we build our head, we'll push those a little bit back. So let's go ahead and snip this off as close as we can get it. Now let's try to sweep these back a little bit and clean up this head. So I'll take it right back to the eye and build a little ramp right here and work on my head, get enough room for a good whip finish and a nice drop of head cement or lacquer. And this is going to look okay. So, we got enough room for a whip finish? Why, yeah, I think we do. With this 6/0 thread, I'm probably only going to do 3, let's do 4 turns if I can get away with it. I did, but I caught 1 fiber and it's now pointing forward. But it'll be no match for our scissors. Okay, so there you have it. I think this is a fishable fly. A drop of head cement to harden that head up and we'd be good to go. So that's it, my friends. I appreciate you watching. Cato Holler's Infallible. So take care and we'll see you next time.